Lenny DePaul grew up in Utica, went to VVS High School, now living in Long Island, and Lenny was a marshal. You'll see him on Hunting Hitler. He is on season number 2, which is underway right now, Tuesday nights at 10 p.m. on the History Channel, and he's just been named to the cast of a new TV show that starts in January on CBS, the show called Hunted, and Lenny DePaul on the line right now. Good morning, Lenny.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Listen, I just discovered through all of this, and we've talked briefly prior to you coming on the air here today, that one of my best friends is Tony Scaparo, and you're actually related to the Scaparos.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's a blast from the past. Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to. This is really exciting. What you're doing here. This, first of all, Hunting Hitler is just an incredible program.
Well, I'll tell you, we had a pretty good time shooting this thing. As you said, we're in season 2 now, and I was cast as one of the lead investigators to go out and try to establish whether or not Adolf Hitler and Eva Braun was able to escape the Fuhrer bunker back in April of 1945. How'd they get out? Where'd they go? What was their mode of transportation? Where did they end up? And we've uncovered a lot of good stuff. I think we've got some history teachers mad at us, Bill.
Well, I got to tell you, I really think we were taught things that weren't true.
You know, it happens, unfortunately, and I think we're changing history a little bit. I mean, he certainly, supposedly he kills himself, shoots himself in the head. She takes a cyanide pill. That's what we were taught in history class. And it doesn't appear that happened. I mean, he certainly could have got out of the Fuhrer bunker. We've now, in season 2, we've got a guy by the name of Peter Baumgard who, unsolicited in testimony with the Polish when he was captured, he says he flew Adolf Hitler and Eva Braun from a makeshift runway in Berlin, flew them out and headed north on a small aircraft to Denmark. So,
wow.
We find this stuff. We find the runway. We've got photos, and it's amazing stuff.
On this program, what I find most interesting is you still, here we are, all these years later, and you're in Europe and you're interviewing. They're interviewing people that were there at the time or in these communities at the time, and they're still afraid to talk.
They're in fear, and why, I have no idea. This is 70 years later. I mean, I spoke to a guy who was well into his 80s, and he was part of the Hitler Youth Army. He was 15 years old, sitting at Tempelhof Airport during the Battle of Berlin. The Russians were 200 meters out. I mean, aircraft up top. You've got the Allied forces closing in, and he tells me a story. He says, he distinctly remembers. 15 years old now. He was at the airport fighting the Russians, and he was told by his bosses one night, late in April, he says, listen, don't shoot at any aircraft that are going to fly tonight, he says, because they're going to be German airplanes. So, I mean, the Russians weren't flying at night. I mean, Hitler certainly, and he had 8 body doubles, just like Bin Laden and these other guys. He had 2 actors that looked just like him. So, he was told to commit suicide, wrap us up in carpet, burn the bodies, and 3 days later, contaminated crime scene. Here comes the Russians, and this is all coming from declassified FBI files, MI6 files. We've pulled some other intelligence reports, and even our U.S. president, Stalin, and others around the world said this guy probably got out.
I think that at that time the world needed a quick story, an end. We needed
closure.
We needed closure. Yeah, I got to tell you, the program is Hunting Hitler, and it's on Tuesday nights at 10 p.m. In season number 2. You can always go back to iTunes or wherever and grab season number 1. I'm currently in season number 1. Andrew with a question.
Yeah, and one of the things, too, that makes it hard to believe that Hitler would take his own life is kind of the ego that he had. I mean, let's be honest. How much of that kind of plays into, I know that that's all, circumstantial evidence, but, I mean, how much of that plays a role in this conspiracy theory?
Well, it's huge. I mean, you could look at it a couple of different ways, I suppose. But I don't see a guy like him. He was a forward thinker. I mean, you got to give the devil his due. He knew what he was doing. Sharp guy. I mean, we've uncovered, and I found out about him. And I didn't know. I must have fell asleep during history class because there was a whole lot of things that went on. And just a quick note too. I mean, we had sent in season 1 a pathologist to Russia. They allowed him to come in and do some updated DNA collection and stuff on a skeleton remains that they had on a skull that had a bullet hole in it, and that comes back to a 35 to 40-year-old female, they threw the guy out of the country. So
wow.
it's as things move on in our investigation into season 2, and God knows how much further we're going to go with this, but we're changing history, it looks like.
I first read about you. Rocco LaDuca did a story on you when he was with the Observer Dispatch. When you were actually doing a program in here, it was Manhunters in Utica, right?
Right. Yeah, we shot 62 episodes, I believe, of Manhunters on A&E, and I did a few stories up there in Utica. Yeah.
What was the one up here? Do you recall what?
Oh boy, I mean, it's tough to. We were averaging about 100 arrests a week just in my region alone of violent, terrorists, murderers, rapists, arsonists, the worst of the worst. So I don't recall, but it was a couple. We did a couple stories up there.
And I have to tell you, you've just been named to a new cast for a new program coming in January in CBS. That's great news.
You're gonna love this one. Yeah, it's an intense game of adult hide and seek on steroids, Bill. We've got 9 teams of 2, ordinary citizens on the run for 28 days, and they're being chased by the most dedicated warriors and intense manhunters that we've got in this country. U.S. Marshals, Green Berets, Navy SEALs, FBI, CIA, NSA. We're a pretty good cast, and 28 days if they elude capture at the goal line is $250,000 sitting there waiting for them.
Wow! So this is like a competition. I love this.
It is absolutely. And what's good about it is on the 22nd of January, we air 1 hour right after the AFC Championship game. Then we move in 4 days later into Survivor's time slot at 8 o'clock on Wednesday nights. And the cast of characters, these fugitives, range from just ordinary citizens, husband, wives, 2 friends. Got one guy that's a former criminal. He's been arrested about 12 times. He's now a defense attorney and his girlfriend. And we shot it this summer, and I think you're going to like this one. It's pretty intense, and we had a good time doing it. I was cast as a deputy commander in charge of operations, so I sit in a command post in a remote location. And on the other side, on the intel and the cyber side, is Teresa Payton. She's the deputy commander in charge of that group, and she's a former White House chief information officer under George Bush. So we've got quite a good cast. Wow.
Well, I got to tell you, this I love the concept. I mean, this is like The Amazing Race on steroids, where you got to. I hate to say it, but whenever I see these stupid criminals, I read stupid criminal stories every day, and I always have the answer. If you'd have done this, and way in the back of my head, I'm like, boy, wouldn't it be cool to? I think I could pull that off. I never would, but I think I could do it. And here it gives you the opportunity.
Well, you'll be on the edge of your seat. I mean, some of the things that these guys do, and they're sleeping with one eye open. You got these professional manhunters. These guys are dedicated. I chased violent criminals for the past 3 decades, and they're sleeping with one eye open, these people. And they got 100,000 square miles that they're running in the southeast, about 4 states, and there's some interesting things that happen. So stay tuned. It's going to be a good one.
All right. Is there anything back to the hunting Hitler? Is there one thing that stands out for you that makes you say, "Boy, I really wonder"?
When I started in the Fear Bunker, which obviously is not there anymore, and we had a fellow historian that recreated a 3D image of the bunker. And this season 2, we uncovered another exit. There was 4 exits originally. We uncovered another one, which is a straight shot. If he wanted to get out, he stays underground. He makes his way to this makeshift airport, which runs from the Brandenburg Gate all the way to the Freedom Tower, if you know where I'm talking about, in Berlin. Lampposts were cut in half. Hannah Reich was one of Hitler's was a female pilot. She did a test run on April 27th, 1945. She was able to get in and out of there on a small aircraft, and we believe the following day, this Peter Baumgart flies him out and heads north to Denmark. And we find some spot. I don't want to ruin the season. I know you said you're into season 1, so but it's just as the investigation went on and the people we spoke to, and like you said, people love to talk, and 70 years later they're still afraid, but they certainly want to talk about it, and it's hard to. And as a criminal investigator, Bill, you know, you're Q&A-ing somebody. These guys, you can tell when somebody's, you know, hands to the face, all the nonverbal communication. These guys are straight shooters. I mean, they're telling you a story, and they're putting you right there 70 years later.
I got to tell you, the emotion that you see in these people as they're being questioned, it's authentic. It makes you feel like, boy, these people are really telling the truth here.
Well, yeah, finally we can talk about it. And we got some really good guys, investigators. Timmy Kennedy, former SF guy. He's an MMA fighter, great guy. Mike Simpson, another Army Ranger. Gerard Williams, he's a historian, wrote a book called Gray Wolf about Hitler. And they hired a pretty good cast, and I'm enjoying it. I'm having fun.
We're talking to Lenny DePaul. He went to VVS high school, grew up in Utica, and living now in Long Island, and is going to be on the new TV show on CBS called Hunted, and can currently be seen on Hunting Hitler, Tuesday nights at 10 o'clock on the History Channel.
Again, Lenny, I know you said you didn't want to give too much away. Is there evidence, do you get into that the U.S. government or world governments thought or knew that he may have escaped and continued to hunt him even after the official story was that he was dead?
And behind the scenes, and some of the redacted FBI unclassified files that we have, even in the UK and the MI6 files and other intelligence agencies, we didn't get into too much. But there is verbiage, there is actual language in there from high-ranking officials saying that here's what we think he's done. And yes, the investigation behind the scenes did continue. And as you said earlier, they kept it quiet. I mean, the dust had settled, the smoke cleared, the Battle of Berlin was over. This guy's dead. He's killed, how many people, and he's a maniac. And let's move on. Let's bury this thing. But sadly, we don't believe that happened. And I think the American people should know that.
I'm going back on Rocco's story, by the way, and a couple of the high-profile cases you were involved in. Ralph Bucky Phillips, case in Western New York, who was charged with killing a state trooper back in 2006. There were sightings of him here in Utica, and also the murderer of Utica police officer Tom Lindsay. Tracking him to Puerto Rico. Those were some of the stories that...
we got that guy in Puerto Rico, and Bucky Phillips, he was another maniac, and we ended up, he was in the woods and threw his hands up, and thank God, came walking out. But, those were some intense cases. I mean, the U.S. Marshals, as you know, they're the premier manhunting agency in this country, and we go after the worst of the worst. So,
how about that recent case, was it last year, when the two inmates went missing, and, there was just this huge, massive manhunt, and it almost seemed like we were not going to catch those guys.
Dan Amora, I was actually had my finger on the pulse on that case. I did a lot of stuff on Fox and CNN and whatnot, but they were. It was a pretty good escape. I mean, they put some thought into this thing, but they just couldn't figure out Plan B once she decided to zig when she should have zagged and didn't pick them up, and and they were out there for a little while, but
and they stayed close.
Up to them.
They stayed close, even despite the fact that they didn't have a ride.
Amazing.
It's crazy. Listen, very excited about the upcoming show on CBS. I'm going to be all over the show called Hunted. I'm all over Hunting Hitler. I have a long way to go there, but binge watching over the holiday, I'm sure I'll catch up. But Lenny DePaul, congratulations on your success, and it's great to see a local guy doing what you're doing out there. Awesome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on, and Merry Christmas, and have a happy, healthy, and safe New Year to you and your audience, and thanks again, Bill.
All right, Lenny, thanks so much. We'll talk again. Thank you.
Stay well, guys. All right, bye-bye.
Lenny DePaul, and that program will begin airing, as you said, after the AFC Championship game on CBS coming up in January, and you can see Hunting Hitler Tuesday nights at 10 p.m. on the History Channel.